Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Boyne. Today we want to talk about arbitration. Yeah, that might seem like something esoteric, but it is not. It is something that can be a big money earner for Jamaica. We have two gentlemen who will tell us more about that. We have the Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center and the CEO, and that is Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and the CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Trevor Ferron. Gentlemen, good to have you on Issues and Answers. I want to start with you first, Dr. Malcolm. The concept for this International Arbitration Center, Jamaica International Arbitration Center, our revision of our arbitration law has made this possible and has made Jamaica more attractive as a location for the settlement of arbitration disputes. Give us the background to that and how this law has prepared us.
Well, the center, in terms of the genesis of the center, it actually started since about 2003. So it has been long in coming in terms of the work on it. And in fact, I was reflecting on my way here that the real implementation work for it started at a conference at Jungle Bay Resort in Daly's, Dominica in 2005. I was there presenting to the judges of the Eastern Caribbean Court at their annual conference. And I met up with and spoke to a colleague out of Canada about what it is that we could do at regional level to inspire and support our developmental agenda. And this was one of the areas that started. So there were several discussions flowing out of that coming on that led to us working to getting the center up. Part of that work included, of course, working with persons who have started the work before. I can't claim that I was ever the first person to be working to getting the change to the law, of recognizing that we had laws across the region, including Jamaica, which were archaic and not supportive and facilitative of arbitration. And in the context of Jamaica, I decided to get a little more involved in it. And so we started to work then and have worked with successive governments since. And this ultimately led to the governments themselves doing very hard work and work which is at the highest standard, I would think, that ultimately led to the implementation of the Arbitration Act 2017.
Which replaces a law that was, for what, 1900?
It replaces a 1900 Act, which was itself based on an 1889 UK Act,
Yes.
English Act. And that law was considered to be no longer useful in terms of being able to promote international arbitration and to be attractive to persons generally, because it had so many loopholes in it. And so what we have now done and what we now have in place in Jamaica is a new law based on the UNCITRAL model, which is the United Nations International Convention for Trade Law. And they have established a model which pulls together best practices globally. And that model has been accepted in over 70 countries worldwide, and Jamaica is now the newest member. In fact, if you were to go to the UNCITRAL website, you'll see Jamaica as the most recent addition to that family of UNCITRAL model law countries. And Jamaica's new law came into effect on the 7th of July, and we now have what we can proudly say is among the best laws in the world.
And how has Jamaica been positioned since the passage of this law? How are we seen internationally? And what have been some of the indications of this new light in which Jamaica is seen in terms of arbitration?
Well, even before the new law was passed, while we were in the process of getting there, the world was already taking attention. So, for example, the Global Arbitration Review, which is a leading, the leading publication, the Bible of publications in this area. In 2017, well, they had shortlisted Jamaica for having been one of the biggest arbitration movers in 2016.
Is that so?
And that was, we were shortlisted for two reasons. One, because of our move towards implementing the new law, and secondly, because of the establishment of this new arbitration center. And we were shortlisted with India, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, and those countries. India eventually, it's a very prestigious list. India eventually won the award, and this award was presented in Milan on the 28th of March of this year. But persons were starting to notice and are wondering what is happening in Jamaica. And I personally have been receiving emails and requests, LinkedIn and other requests from all over the world, Pakistan, as far away. I got one even this morning from Tehran. Persons are simply wondering what is happening. We just had a conference concluded. We had somebody, for example, coming from the Czech Republic to try to figure out what it is that we're doing in Jamaica and what lessons they can learn from what we're doing. In a sense, it reminds, of what happened when Lee Kuan Yew came to Jamaica.
Yes.
To see our model.
To study the model.
Because the truth is that the model we have been taking, for example, with this arbitration center, which is to move away from simply looking at a brick and mortar, to instead create a strong administrative background, using a virtual space as a place from which we will essentially operate, is a model which moves away from the high carrying costs of having a center, knowing that as you build out, it will take you in an event to 3, 4, even more years before you start seeing any real return. We just can't afford to do that. Absolutely. But we can afford to build a strong infrastructure. We can afford to build a cadre of practitioners who are as equipped intellectually and otherwise as anybody you could find anywhere in the world. And we're getting there. We've been doing that over the period.
Absolutely. Mr. Ferron, the JCC's involvement, what is the connection between the JCC and the Jamaica International Arbitration Center?
Well, to begin with, arbitration is one of the pillars of the International Chamber of Commerce, which is in itself one of the drivers of arbitration practices and rules worldwide. So we have a familial relationship as a member of the International Chamber of Commerce. We also have, through Dr. Malcolm, that entree into this world of arbitration, which was unfamiliar with most of us at the Chamber, but which we knew had the promise of being able to assist in the settlement of disputes domestically in the first instance, to ensure that the process of dispute resolution, commercial dispute resolution, could take place quickly. Because the court system does have its deficiencies in terms of, and even with the setting up of the commercial courts in more recent times, you do see the opportunity for businesses to have their disputes settled as swiftly as possible, so they can conduct their businesses profitably. So we have developed a partnership with the JAIAC, the Arbitration Center, and ourselves and the International Chamber of Commerce. And the most recent manifestation of it, as Dr. Malcolm pointed out, was a very well-attended conference that took place on Monday here in Kingston, and brought together people from all over the world, with Jamaicans from, many were from the legal area, the courts, the bar association, what have you, but also people from other professions who wanted to understand how they could fit into the framework of arbitration.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about the benefits to Jamaica, the economic benefits to Jamaica of having this arbitration center, and the benefits flowing out of our update of our arbitration law. We'll take a break, but we'll be right back.
Want to know the law pertaining to renting a house? What about the procedure if you're arrested? Or what is defined as corruption? Then click on the Ministry of Justice website. It has information on every law passed in Jamaica. The House of Parliament portal also has the more recent year's pieces of legislation. The sites are easy to search and the files are downloadable. Make access to justice your business. Know your rights.
Welcome back. We're talking about arbitration, and Jamaica is becoming a leading arbitration center. We have with us the Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center, Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and the CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Trevor Ferron. And want to come back to you, Dr. Malcolm. Tell us about the economic benefits, the potential economic benefits of Jamaica's having this international arbitration center. and our potential for, pulling people from all over the world who would want to come to Jamaica to settle their arbitration disputes?
Well, I start with this. Very often we speak about arbitration as a dispute settlement mechanism. I speak about the dispute management process. The distinction being, management is end-to-end. So you get to the point of helping persons to better organize their systems, to be able to leverage the dispute settlement and to bring greater certainty. Uncertainty in legal dispute settlement is one of the greatest problems in businesses. And if you can bring predictability to that, you're creating greater certainty, which means people have better control of their cash flow and everything else. So there's natural economic benefit there. But getting more specific now to arbitration and what it can do as its own industry.
That's right.
Arbitration is considered to be part of a broader legal services industry. And there are many countries in the world I could speak of. England is a good example, the United Kingdom. But in a developing world, we can, or in other societies, we can think of Singapore. We can think within the context of the Caribbean, of Bermuda, of Cayman, and so on, that have sought to build out on legal services. Now, there's a statistic which a lot of persons wouldn't know, but I'll bring to bear. In 2016, for the very first time, the UK disaggregated the value of legal services to their economy. And they determined that the contribution of legal services to their economy, to their GDP, was £25.7 billion net, with fee income, legal services fee income having been £31.9 billion. Now, what for me was most startling was that they found that while over the last 10 years, the general economy was growing at 1.2%, legal services was growing at 3%. More importantly even, they found that of the contribution, that £25.7 billion contribution to the GDP, 73.2% of it was export value, meaning their lawyers and legal service providers, including arbitrators, going abroad to do work and repatriating the funds, or persons traveling to the UK to do it. We could speak of similar figures, though not as big, clearly, in relation to Cayman. In 2007, for example, Oxford did a study in Cayman which found that the contribution of legal services there was, I think, $1.3 billion. Within another 10 years, that has gone up to 1.5 billion, sort of thing. So we're seeing figures moving. The British Virgin Islands, in fact, tells persons now that even though we speak of them as an offshore financial services sector.
And you worked in the...
And I was the Attorney General there
for 3 years.
For 3 years, in fact. And they tell you, we do not sell financial services, we sell legal services. Because at the core of financial services...
Are legal services?
Are legal services. The transactions, the drafting of documents, and all the other things that you put in place for this to work. So we have to now start seeing legal services for what it is.
So what you
its
said,
own
Dr.
industry.
Malcolm, is that the more we establish ourselves as an arbitration center, the greater attractiveness we will have as a center also for financial services. And this has been one area that Jamaica has been trying to tap into for a long time.
But go beyond that, Ian. The logistics hub is being established.
Yes.
What is at the core of logistics?
Of course.
Movement and contracts, supply contracts, and all the other things related to that. All of it about legal services. More importantly, as we get there, for international business transactions, whether they're trade and commerce or commercial, arbitration is the singular most important mechanism for resolving disputes. Sure. And the reason for this is when you have persons being cross-border, different countries, China, Japan, Hong Kong, Brazil, wherever transacting, each party there saying, I don't trust your legal system, so let us find somewhere neutral.
They want somewhere neutral.
And arbitration becomes important. Why? Because a judgment, say, issued in Jamaica in the Jamaican law, is a judgment which is restricted, if essential, to the Jamaican jurisdiction. With arbitration, because Jamaica is a signatory to the New York Convention with 147 plus countries, when you get an arbitration award in Jamaica, it is treated as though it is a local judgment in 146 other countries. So you can immediately go there, subject to local conditions and local laws, and simply take your award there and say, I'm here to enforce it. You can't do the same with a judgment. So it becomes attractive for that reason to international commercial practitioners. Now, what is again important is that while we're looking now at the broader context, we now start looking at support industries.
Yes.
So every center where arbitration has grown, the leading support center to it is tourism. Tourism for the arbitrators coming in, tourism for the conferences. We, for example, just had a conference here.
Yes.
We're expecting that to grow and grow significantly. And you're talking about higher end tourism.
Yes.
And
Because arbitration can go on for months.
can go on for months, years, even if it's a big nuclear arbitration that could go on for years.
Yes.
And at the time, what the arbitration centers worldwide will tell you is that they find when persons are trying to find a place to go with their arbitration, what is at the
Nice
top of their
vacation
list,
spot.
they actually usually ask, what can we do in our downtime? How can we plan a family vacation?
Yes.
And these other things, and that is where tourism comes in.
It's exciting. So, Mr. Ferron, this is a big area for Jamaican business.
Oh, yes, we're
The
very-
commerce must be excited about this.
Yes, we are. It's something that we had pursued on a much smaller scale and without the benefit of the recent act. You know, we have had some stalwart members of the chamber over the years who have been very interested in doing this. Yes. The act now makes it a lot easier to get these things done. And as Dr. Malcolm is pointing out, internationalizes the scenario, which we didn't have that, we were looking at that before. Good. So it's something that we're very excited about. We're very committed to it. And over the months and years ahead, because it is going to take some time.
Yes.
You will be seeing us collaborating on rolling out new activities, new initiatives to get ourselves further up that index of arbitration centers.
Excellent. We are certainly buoyed by the very good news, gentlemen, that you have brought today. We have been speaking to the Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center, Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and the CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Trevor Ferron. And they have been telling us how government's passage of the new arbitration law has really facilitated a significant economic and social development opportunity for the country. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a very pleasant day.